I now call upon public orator Professor Chris McCulloch to present the honorary graduate.
Kuljit Bhamra, MBE. Spending time in the company of Kuljit Bhamra is an exhilarating experience. He is a polymath whose many artistic and organizational talents are matched only by his sharp wit. Indeed, it is rather like being exposed to Spike Milligan, a figure Kuljit would, if given the opportunity, choose as an advisor. How was Kuljit transformed from the professional civil engineer into the multi-talented musician, composer, celebrant of the Southall community, whose life and work it is our honor to celebrate today? The die was cast early in Kuljit's life with his mother, Mohinder Kaur, who was a Punjabi scholar and trained singer who performed regularly in local Sikh temples after they moved to the UK from Kenya. His father learnt to play the tabla from his musical brother so that he could accompany Kuljit's mother. All this was watched by the very young Kuljit. By the age of 6, Kuljit had also become a proficient tabla player and was in demand to play in local Southall temples, accompanying the singers. The ability to think in a progressively radical way was present early in Kuljit's life through the influence of his mother, who took the initiative to invite Punjabi women to participate in the weddings as performers along with the men, an activity which hitherto had been observed solely as a male domain. Kuljit is one of the most inspiring and influential musician, composer, and record producers on the British Asian music scene. Here, we should pause to recognize that our university's initial link with Kuljit was through his association with the prestigious British Asian Research Project in the drama department at Exeter, led by Professor Graham Lay and one of his collaborators, Dr. Jerry Dabu. A spearhead of the Bhangra movement, Kuljit has composed and produced over 2,000 songs and is responsible for the rise to fame of numerous Bhangra and Bollywood stars. He has worked both independently and collaboratively on film scores for over 10 years, including the soundtrack for the award-winning Baji on the Beach, A Winter of Love, Bend It Like Beckham, Brick Lane, and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, without forgetting his collaboration with Andrew Lloyd Webber on the musical Bombay Dreams. His cutting-edge projects and passion for creating systems whereby musicians from various cultures, significantly jazz, may perform repertoire together, earned him the prestigious award of MBE for services to Bhangra and the British Asian music in the Queen's Birthday Honours of 2009. What must not be forgotten amidst the myriad of Kuljit's achievements is his contribution to the Southall story as its artistic director. The Southall Project celebrates this district of West London that has a tradition of welcoming new communities, West Indian, Pakistani, as well as Sikhs from Afghanistan, throughout the last century, enabling them to excel and influence both the social and political structures of this country. The murders of Gurdip Singh Chaggar and Blair Peach catapulted and galvanized the community of Southall to act in its defense, acquiring a voice, confidence, self-respect, and determination to project their identities culturally and economically. One of the significant outcomes of the early Southall project was the Southall Story exhibition at the London South Bank Centre, a part of which Kuljit subsequently exhibited in the Drama Department's Alexander Building in 2009. It is most appropriate that we conclude with Kuljit's own thoughts on the Southall project. He wrote, "I have always felt that Southall's contribution to culture has been under-acknowledged and was therefore thrilled at the idea of creating a project that would celebrate its achievements through a series of exhibitions, discussion fora, and music events. Surely the young people would be inspired by the stories and heritage that preceded them, stories about their own hometown." Kuljit Bhamra, international virtuoso musician and composer, community leader, an inspiration to us all, young and old alike, in the many varied and rich cultures that together form what it means to be British today. Chancellor, it is my honour to present Kuljit Bhamra for the degree of Doctor of Music honoris causa.
I'd now like to invite Dr. Kuljit Bhamra to address the congregation.
Thank you very much. It's a real honour, literally, and a privilege to have this award. So I'd really like to thank Exeter University. I was thinking about what to say, actually, that would be very inspiring, but I couldn't think of anything. So I thought I'd share a few bits from my life, which I'll scribble down here on a note paper. I think it's quite necessary for me to first acknowledge and congratulate all the graduates. I think you deserve another round of applause to yourself. So I really want to congratulate you for achieving your various degrees, and also to congratulate you for maintaining and reinforcing the reputation that the drama department has nationally, which is very good, in case you're wondering. I thought I'd share my sort of, on the way, I actually drove from Rotterdam this morning because I had a concert last night. It was quite a long drive, so I had quite a bit of time to think about what to say. But I thought that I began to think about my relationship with academia and how, whether it was useful to me or not. I began to think about my experience. Actually, I remember being very young, and my father being very strict with me. I caught polio when I was young in Kenya, and so I've always walked with I wear a brace on my left leg. I don't have any pain, but it's just, I'm just slow. But I don't miss running because I've never run before, so, it's just the way it is. And the thing that I normally have to deal with is other people's emotions. As people come up to me and say, "Would you like some help to cross the road?" And when I was young, a lot of my aunties used to come up to me and say, "Oh, what a sweet boy. Who will marry him?" And I just think, oh, leave me alone. So, you know, there's all this stuff with my leg. I think, in a way, looking back over it, it's been a gift, really. I really treat it as a gift because it gives me people for face value, and people's emotions come to the surface, and people either try to not talk about it or talk about it or help me or not help me. So, it's you know, that's fascinating. I think I've learned a lot from that as a disability. My father was always very strict, and I think my first contact with academia was really through my father, who said, because there's something wrong with you, you have to really work extra hard to compensate. And so, okay, Dad, and he said, you're going to be a doctor, you will be an engineer, a doctor. And I said, yes, Dad, I'll be a doctor, I'll be an engineer, you'll be proud of me. And all I wanted to do really was just sit in my bedroom and play with my drums, and I used to record music and listen to music, and in those days we had reel-to-reel tape recorders. I don't know if any of you young people know what that is, but it's basically a cassette. You know what a cassette is? No, you don't know what a cassette is either. But it's sort of an open sort of cassette with tape going from one spool to another. And I used to collect my favourite music, Stevie Wonder and jazz and rock, and I used to make loops out of the music, and in my bedroom there was a tape loop going across the picture frame and across the doorknob, and then I used to play along with it, and I used to love doing that. But my father used to knock on my bedroom door and say, "It is only a hobby." And I said, "Yeah, it's only a hobby, Dad. It is. You know, I'll be a doctor, I'll be an engineer, I promise." Oh, my stick's just fallen over. So, there's nothing wrong with my leg really, I just use it for sympathy with myself. But, so anyway, my dad, you know, he'd say, you have to work hard, you have to study, and then I, you know, living in Southall, I went to Southall Grammar School, and I worked hard. I did my O-levels, as they were called in those days, and then did my A-levels, and then I went to Middlesex University, and then I studied civil engineering, and I ended up with a degree in civil engineering. But my bedroom by this time had sort of exploded into a mini recording studio, and my tape recorders had multiplied, and I had all sorts of gadgets and microphones. But my father would still say, "It is only a hobby." I said, "Yeah, Dad, it is. It's just a hobby, you know, I'm an engineer." So I began to realize that and I think this is one of the, if there is a secret to life, I think one of the things really is to realize who you are. And I think it's one of those most hardest things you can do. Sometimes we're forced to look at who we are through catastrophic events or things. Some people are naturally reflective. I think I'm one of those guys who's naturally inquisitive and sometimes over-analytical. But I sometimes think to myself, I think, okay, how did I get to be who I am today? It's a really strange question. What do I want from life? Another really difficult question. I know what my dad wanted. And I was a civil engineer, and I was working for Richmond Council, and I was designing speed humps, which I found really boring. And at some point, I realized that I had been living my dad's dream rather than mine. And it was also probably a way of avoiding what I wanted. I knew I had a dream of becoming a full-time musician, but I also knew what I should do for my father. One of the skills I knew I had was I could study theory, and then I could put it into practice. So I had this knack of, I could read something, I could figure out how something worked, and then I could put it into practice and sort of make my dreams come true. And I had this knack of being sort of academic on one side and practical on the other. And I always found a tension between the two. In fact, about 10 years ago, I did a project with some scientists who the woman invented biofeedback mechanism. I think it's a way of measuring brain waves. I don't know if anyone's heard of that. And she plugged me up to this brainwave machine, and it measures your alpha, beta, gamma. I'm not really an expert on it, but I know it measures your brain sort of power and capabilities. And as she plugged me into this machine, and all the lights went flashing, and she said, "Oh, that's interesting." And I said, "What? Is something wrong?" She said, "Oh, your left brain and your right brain are of equal strength." And I went, "Oh God!" I thought to myself, "I'm really special here, aren't I?" And I said, "Well, what does that mean? And she said, well, it just means that your left brain and right brain fire on equal strength. But anyway, one of the things I have found out about myself is I love the dance between academia and also practice of knowledge. And so here I find myself having been a civil engineer and now being a full-time musician. And you know, one of my colleagues a few years ago said something that sort of had one of those life-changing moments for me, which was he said he couldn't believe that whoever designed human beings would give human beings the ability to dream if the dreams couldn't come true. And I just find that so logical, and it makes so much sense to me. And I think the reason for me saying this really is to invite you all to dream and ask yourself what your dreams really are. Because I really feel if you follow your dream, everything's ready, all the ducks from the line waiting for you, and your life will work out. So just to finish off, I'd like to thank Exeter University for helping me fulfill my dreams and my father's dreams, because I was an engineer, I am now a doctor, and I also am a musician, so that's all worked out very well. So thank you very much, and thanks for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Kuljit, for sharing that story with us. And thank you for those words of wisdom. You are a true inspiration to our graduates. And you're welcome. Welcome to this extended family we have here at Exeter. You'll always find open arms to greet you. We love what you do, we love your work, and we salute you today, one of our true honorary graduates.